Thank you, Bushebi Jr. Moving on, Webuye town in Bungoma County sits at the base of the spiraling Chetambe Hills. It occupies a strategic geographical location from which one can travel to Kakamega, Bungoma, Kitale, and Eldoret towns. It is home to Nabuyole Falls, formerly referred to during colonial times as Broderick Falls. After independence, the falls were first renamed Webuye Falls between mid-1970s and late 2000. Webuye experienced phenomenal growth, an occurrence residents attributed to establishment of pan paper mills. The mills collapsed under huge debt, and its closure meant economic disaster for town residents and thousands of employees who depended on it. There were state bailouts, including 1 billion Kenya shillings, but the money was swallowed up by the huge debts. Listening. December 2016, an event for a group of companies was brought in to resurrect East Africa's largest paper factory. But more than 13 years later, there is nothing much to celebrate.
The
hope of a revived factory, town and job is slowly fading out of the factory's 4 channels. Only one is functional. I have established that the production is also on very low scale. Machines have continued to rust away. A place that symbolizes the era of industrial collapse in Kenya. The rusty machines that you see here today were the jewel and life of this town. After suffering years of industrial collapse and stagnation, we found out what the future holds for the people of Webuye. We are also trying to establish just how a mill like this was brought down.
Pan paper ilikuwa imeandika watu wengi sana, hao ndo walikuwa wateja wetu wakitoka kampuni wananunua vitu zetu. Ilikuwa na shift wa saa 5 wakitoka wanaingia wengine tunafanya biashara mpaka saa hii.
And it collapsed, destroying the dreams of thousands of ordinary Kenyans. This was once a giant paper factory in East and Central Africa region. It was a source of income for thousands, a place where both the skilled and unskilled got a living. For more than 40 years, Pan-African Paper Mills, as it was legally known, turned trees into paper. At its peak, the factory employed over 3,000 Kenyans. Patrick Njoroge worked as the company's executive driver.
Mimi nilikuwa naendesha magari ya wakubwa, kwa hivyo nilikuwa very close na wakubwa. So nilikuwa nafurahia kazi yangu na pia nilikuwa napata mapato yangu bila kuchelewa. Hizi manyumba zenye mnajionea hapa ndio mimi nilikuja kuishi from Nairobi, nikapewa nyumba F10 na ilikuwa nyumba inakuwa maintained every year. Inapakwa rangi. Tulikuwa tunaishi mzuri kabisa kulingana na pan paper. Hata pesa mshahara tulikuwa tunasema ni ndogo, lakini tumekuja kugundua ya kwamba pan paper Mr. Bira alikuwa analipa sisi mzuri sana.
Mama Halima's husband worked as a laborer at the factory.
Wakati hiyo ilikuwa ndio ni pan paper. Juu tulikuwa ukitaka kaloni unapata, watoto shule tulikuwa nayo, hospitali tulikuwa nayo, kilikuwa kiwanda kizuri. Hiyo mshahara ilikuwa chini kwa wazee, lakini walikuwa na vitu kama school fees loan, walikuwa na cooperative bank, hizo cooperative walikuwa na vitu nini ndogo ndogo hizi za kusaidia za kuboost.
The gold old days of the pan paper mills had a direct impact on Webuye town, which experienced tremendous growth with each ton of paper produced by the factory. Compared to other urban centers in Western Kenya, Webuye had a complete infrastructure of a modern urban center, energy supply, food production, good systems, and not much crime. It was a good place for families to live. If the nearby Chetambe Hills had a voice, they would have narrated the nostalgic stories of pan paper mills and Webuye town.
Yeye namalizianga mimi wakati. Wewe haribu pesa yako, nakuja unakaa hapa. Hiyo kutoka hapa sasa unaenda kwa nyumba kidogo na singisi. Umesonga. Umetoa mastress umetoa. Tanga utaenda kwa janga. Hapana.
Pan Paper Mills was among corporate that supported and financed football clubs in Kenya in the 90s. Pan Paper Football Club played in Kenya's Premier League, then called KFF Premier League. At this time, there will be a best factory was pulling in business, and from the outside, the future looked bright.
He still comes here to remember the days Pan Paper Football Club graced Kenya's Premier League.
Watu walikuwa na chang, wanatoka mbali, si ati Webuye peke yake. Walikuwa wanatoka Kimilili, Bungoma, hata Kitale wanakuja kuangalia mpira hapa Webuye. Sababu ilikuwa wakati ya ligi kama imekuja hapa kwa timu yote walikuwa naingia hapa kwa uwanja hii Ilala Stadium. Hapo wakati ile nilikuwa nakumbuka Ingwe, timu yetu Ingwe FC. Hiyo ndio timu ilikuwa kama wanasema tu nakuja hapa kukutana na Pan Paper. Siku hiyo kazi inakwisha. Asema nikuja hapa niangalie hiyo.
But in the background, debts were accumulating and the company was struggling to remain afloat. So, when did the rain started beating the giant paper factory? 1980, the year Kenya adopted more liberal trade and interest rate regime. That was after the government signed a structural adjustment agreement with the World Bank from 1982 into the 1990s. Under pressure from donors, particularly the World Bank, Kenya began shifting import restrictions from quotas to tariffs and decreasing tariff levels. In 1987, 40% of all importable items had quantitative quotas, but by July 1991, import licenses were only used for health and security reasons. In addition to opening up imports, Kenya introduced several programs through the 1980s and 1990s designed to promote exports, such as the Manufacturing Under Bond Scheme in 1988, which allowed manufacturers producing for exports to import equipment duty-free, as well as the creation in 1990 of the manufacturer-friendly export processing zones. The Kenya industrial sector experienced a major shake-up during the structural adjustment period as cheaper import flooded the market. Before then, Pan Paper Mills and other monopolies enjoyed protective policies. This period marked the beginning of the end of Pan Paper. As we knew it indeed, many factors conspired to bring down the factory. The Indian management company was paid even when there was nothing to show for it by Pan Paper Mills Limited managers. A report by the Ministry of Industrialization released on 14th of April 2009 stated that there was no evidence to set benchmarks against which to measure performance, as the company had never had a strategic plan. The Indian managers were on the Pan Paper Mills payroll, as well as which was a clear case of double payment according to the report. Orient also enjoyed additional fees paid on sales, a net profit. They made illegal cash payments even when the factory was sinking deep into debt. By the time of closure, production had declined from a high of 8,000 to about 3,500 metric tons per month in January 2009, against the factory capacity of 10,000 metric tons. By the time the factory collapsed in 2009, it had an outstanding debt of 9 billion Kenya shillings. The Indian managers left a month after realizing the company was on its deathbed. They could not even pay Kenya Power and Lighting Company for power consumed in January 2009. KPLC then switched off electricity supply over an unpaid bill of 201 million Kenya shillings, and hence the machines went silent. It is what triggered short-term lenders including Kenya Commercial Bank, Barclays Bank of Kenya, EcoBank, and Bank of Baroda Kenya to place the company under receivership.
Because you are promised. Tulikuwa promised ya kwamba na our former bosses ya kwamba wanafunga miezi 3 then wakuje waturudishe kwa kazi, lakini it is not what happened. Wakati tulistukia wakubwa wetu au ni Wahindi Mr. Bira family wameenda na hawakurudi, so walituacha kwa hizi nyumba na promises za kurudi. So sisi tulikaa tukagoja and that was not happen. Baadaye after all tukaona sasa kampuni imeanguka na watu wengi wakaanza kutoka kwa manyumba. Hata saa hii sisi tumeshikilia manyumba namna hii, sisi tunagoja kulipwa.
With no strategic plan, the company had numerous enormous challenges. Shortage of raw materials was big one out of the 25 hectares of pearl boots plantation that had been exclusively reserved by the government for use by Pan Pepper. Only 8,000 hectares were available as wood harvest had been restricted to trees that were at least 18 years old. The collapse of Webuye Pan Pepper Mill costed thousands of people their savings. The collapse of Webuye Pan Pepper Mill costed thousands of people their savings, their jobs, and their homes.
Moshi hiyo sasa tujua wanaunda nini hiyo moshi. Wao tunaona tu moshi. Wakati mwingine wakasema iko huko stoko ya sukari ya Mercury. Sasa hatujui ni sukari, hatujui ni makaratasi, hatujui ni nini, lakini wanasema Pan Pepper inafanya.
Lakini bado hujaona manufaa bado.
Hatujui hata inatengeneza nini. Lija kusema Pan Pepper imefunguliwa, wale watu walikuwa wanafanya Pan Pepper hawakurejeshwa. Mmoja wao ni mzee wangu, hana kazi, tunauza tunaemboga kibanda. Sasa tunashindwa ilifunguliwa na watu wakifanya kazi ni wakina nani huko ndani.
The collapse of Webuye Pan Pepper Mill costed thousands of people their savings, their jobs, and their homes. For Special Report, my name is Mesh Msimbi.